Welcome to PsychicBent. My name is Carrie.
And I'm Kim. We are two sisters wanting to help other psychics learn and grow in their abilities and to help educate about spirits, angels, and everything psychic. Welcome back, listeners, to PsychicBent. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We hope you enjoyed last week's episode where we talked about clairalience and clairaudience, and we hope that you found the ways to develop those clairs interesting. And this week we are going to begin with Claircognizance and cover Clairsentience as well. So, Carrie, why don't you go ahead and fill us in on that wonderful Claircognizance?
Of course, claircognizance is basically inner knowing. Each clair has its own meaning, like we've been going through on each one. And so this one's just inner knowing. You just know things. You don't know how you know it, but you just know it, and you're usually accurate. Now, with all the clairs that we've talked about, all clairs can be developed to get that psychic muscle working, but the claircognizance is basically that inner knowing that, you decide that don't take the normal route to work, you go another way because you just feel you can't go that way, you need to go a different way, but you don't know why. There's nothing really telling you other than that inner gut feeling, and gut feeling is a psychic ability.
Mm-hmm.
That gut feeling is there to help you. And I think we use our claircognizance more than we realize, but I think that it gets discredited a lot by the left brain trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, I could agree with that one, definitely.
So how to develop your claircognizance. The first example or the first exercise is about connecting with your spirit guides. So doing some work with that connection will help you to develop your claircognizance. A lot of these are obviously all based for developing your claircognizance, but you also want to have a relationship with your spirit guides on your spiritual journey because they're there to help. And we've talked about it in the previous episodes, the importance of that. So, and they of course want to help, so why not have them help? So how to have a little chat with your spirit guides and invite them into your life. This is a great intuitive gift, and that will help your claircognizance. With this exercise, you're going to start with a simple meditation where you just focus on your breath and on your body, how it's touching the chair or how you're sitting, on clearing your mind, and just take relaxing breaths. And then set the intention that you want to develop your claircognizance. And you should always set an intention prior to meditation on either receiving particular information or just being an open meditation or whatever you're wanting to get out of that meditation. You should always set some sort of intention. And then you want to invite your guides in. Now, to do that, you want to picture in your mind that they're standing in front of you. And you don't have to try to figure out what they look like. In your mind, they're just standing in front of you or sitting in front of you. And then just say whatever's on your heart. So if you're stuck because it's your first time trying to do this type of exercise, you can just be something that I'm excited to get to know you. I'm open to receiving guidance from my highest and best good. Please guide me through developing my intuitive gifts like claircognizance. And then, of course, you want to thank your spirit guides and be open to receiving their guidance. If you would like to add essential oils to this exercise, I'd recommend using lemon, chamomile, or peppermint.
Some of my favorite scents there that I like to smell.
With a very soothing sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, for developing claircognizance with a visualization exercise is going to be a combination of journaling and meditating. Y'all knew it was going to come up. This is the number one out of the thing. Boom. Meditate with your spirit guides. Number two, journaling and meditation. So basically what you're going to want to do in this exercise, start by pulling out your journal and a pen. Write down how your life will be when your claircognizance is fine-tuned and increased. Then you want to describe a day in the life of you where you know that you should do something and it has a positive impact on your life. Like, you need to stop by the coffee shop on the way home, where you run into your old boss who offers you a great dream job in their new startup company, things like that. And then you want to visualize how your inner knowing will make you feel and how this is going to impact your day-to-day life. Once you get all that in the journal, then set the journal aside. And then you're going to meditate on the day you just described, visualizing everything in detail. Put yourself in the moment and imagine how your body feels when you are experiencing a claircognizant moment. And then meditate on the specifics of your day. And this will help increase your claircognizance.
That one I'm going to have to try. I have not tried that before.
When I was going over some of the techniques for this episode, I was thinking about that if this particular exercise would also work good on I thought with your clairvoyance too.
Yeah, definitely.
And they might go hand in hand. If clairvoyance is your strong clair, you may have to shut it off a little bit to do this, because the focus is a day of knowing and good outcomes. I think that we like to focus on negative things as humans in this day and age, where this whole exercise is based on positive things. It's all about maybe going to Macy's and getting these shoes that you've been wanting for a while, but they were on a great sale that wasn't advertised. You just happened to be at the right place, right time kind of thing. So you made this big score. I mean, it could be almost anything.
Right.
The next one would be automatic writing. We know how much I like automatic writing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And if you haven't tried it yet, it really is, I think, a fun exercise. Just because getting those psychic hits, I always get excited when I get psychic hits.
I get excited when I recognize they're psychic hits.
Well, that's something to definitely be excited about.
Right.
Okay, so I know we've talked about how to do automatic writing before, but we're going to revisit it. Obviously, you're going to need a pen or pencil and notebook. Before you start writing, ask your higher self a question. So you could either write that question down on the top of the paper, or you could say the question, or you could think the question, and then write whatever comes to you, even if it seems like gibberish. Just let your pen flow. The first few times you do it, you may feel silly, but you have to clear your subconscious and make room for the good stuff. Then you'll start to get messages that will start to make sense. So you can receive claircognizant messages through automatic writing. I mean, remember when I did mine and I got Metatron, and at that point in my development, I had no idea who Metatron was.
Right.
And I'm like, what is this? This makes no sense. And then, of course, I Googled it. I went, oh, okay. It got my attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 4, you want to embrace your abilities. We've talked about before being kind to yourself, but so many times we overlook our abilities or our hits, even though they seem obvious, especially I think with claircognizance, because like with clairaudience, you hear it.
Right.
You physically hear, whether it's in your third eye or whatever, you hear it. And clairvoyance, you see it.
Right.
Whether you're tasting or smelling, you've got that. So I think with claircognizance, a lot of times we overlook it because it's just, you just know.
Right.
There's no other sense to go with it. Sometimes you have to just believe in your psychic gift. The more you do it, the more you recognize that you have claircognizance, the more that you're going to get those hits. You have to rely on understanding the inner knowing truly exists. If you don't believe in it, it's not going to work for you.
Right.
When I'm not saying abandon logic, just be aware that sometimes your brain will try to come up with ways to logically explain what you know in your soul to be true.
Well, that's true. I can testify to that.
I figured you could. So basically, the next time you feel like you're having a claircognizant moment, go with it.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, just go with it. You get that little intuitive nudge, and then go with it. That's going to help you learn to recognize when it's happening. Like with the beginning stages of any psychic development, you come up with a million other reasons why you knew to avoid going down that particular street on your way to work.
Yeah.
Even though you were being guided by your intuitive guidance and that you had a stronger inner knowing. I mean, I've had that happen to me before where you knew, no, don't do that. No, just, you just knew. It wasn't the same as hearing the word no. Don't do that.
Yeah. Right.
As with any gift, you don't work that muscle. If you have claircognizance, but you don't want to admit you have it, you don't want to develop it, you don't want to use it, well, you won't, then it'll go away.
Right.
Like with any muscle, you do have to work it out and make it work. Number 4 is believe in yourself and believe that claircognizance does exist, and you'll get more hits.
I also feel this goes with all of the clairs, but especially this one. I personally think that you have to understand that you are special enough to have this.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people don't feel that they are special enough to have something like these things, like these clairs and stuff, but everybody has them. They just don't recognize it. So there's an internal monologue you do have to convince yourself that, yes, you are special enough to be able to do this.
And you're also not crazy for knowing things that you don't know how you know.
Right.
If you're talking to someone who's outside your tribe and you try to explain, you just know it. They're going to look at you a little cray-cray. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not the person that you want to share that information with, because they're not part of the tribe, your supportive tribe. When I get a psychic hit, when I get a claircognizant hit, I don't communicate to the person I'm talking to which clair used to come through,
Mm-hmm.
because then I'll have to explain what that is.
Right.
And then we lose the whole communication of what we were there to achieve.
Right.
So it's one of those where you're giving a reading, or, well, I'm going to use my clair audience for this one, just so you know. I mean, nobody cares. The fact that you're using your clairs and you're growing as a psychic in confidence and in your abilities, and how that's going to help increase your daily life and should make it more fulfilling.
Yes, I agree with that, definitely.
Yes. So number 5 is ask your gut when making decisions. So the next time you have a decision to make, ask your inner knowing. Imagine that you already know which decision is for your best and highest good, then trust your gut. Do small stuff to begin with. Don't do the lottery numbers. Which cereal should you buy? Things like that, small things.
Right.
And then once you see that your inner knowing is dependable, then you could start using it to make bigger and more important decisions. And once that momentum builds, then you should be amazed at what a claircognizant psychic you become and all the positive hits you get. Now, you can increase claircognizance with music.
Okay.
So basically what you want to do is, if whether you're Pandora, Alexa, whatever your mode is for listening to music, and don't worry if you get it right or wrong, because when you're learning, and even as a skilled psychic, you can't get it right all the time. So what you want to do is open your intuitive gifts with the music, because music does what? It raises your energetic vibration.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which is necessary in developing your psychic and mediumship gifts, correct?
Yep.
So it also can spark creativity, and the right side of your brain, where your intuition resides, will be more stimulated. And then imagining that you know what the next song is that will be played, and just relax, break away from logic, and just give it a try. I do this with text messages. When I get the generic ding,
yeah,
I tried okay, who just sent me that text message?
I do that.
You do that? Well, see, and that's a way of developing your claircognizance. If my cell phone's ringing and it's not someone that I have a specific ringtone to, before you look at the phone, okay, who's calling?
Yeah.
I have fun with those too. With the, okay, before I turn my phone over, who is it? So I think that's fun. I've exercised with the trying to guess the next song. I'm not very accurate when I'm driving.
Well, yeah, because your focus is more on staying safe on the road than it is.
Right. So if you try to do this when you're driving, it may not be as accurate.
Yeah, I could see that. But if you're a passenger in the car, you should be able to try to do that. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I didn't know the name of these cards. I feel bad. Zener cards. Zener. Go back to Ghostbusters, the Venkman ESP test. Those cards. That's the cards we're talking about.
Yeah.
Obviously, Walmart doesn't carry those cards, but like with Amazon, you get almost anything. But you could also just make your own. You get 5 index cards, and you draw a square on one, a circle on the next, a star on another, wavy lines on the next, and a plus sign on the last one. You lay the 5 cards in a pile face down, take one card, keeping it face down, and place it in front of you. So you can't see the picture. You just got the back of the card. And you imagine that you know without seeing the card what it is. And then flip it over and see how you did.
Yeah.
Now you can start out by using just 2 of the 5 Zener cards. And then as your confidence grows, you can add a third one and so on. Now, again, the point of this exercise is not to be right every time. So don't beat yourself up over it.
Yeah.
If you don't get it right. The point is that you're practicing not overthinking things, which will increase your confidence with your extrasensory perceptions.
Yeah, I could see where you'd go off the rails with that one if you're trying and the first couple ones you don't get, and then you're trying harder and harder, and you've totally lost focus on what it is you're actually trying to do. You just get frustrated
and
because it's never turning out
yes,
to what you think it is.
yes, and overthinking can be bad on any situation, psychic or not.
Right.
Not to get into all the details, but Kim was sharing with me yesterday about a request that was made of her with, Kim's very crafty and does a lot of things, and she overthought this thing to death. When I think intuitively she knew just to say no.
Yeah. It was awful. I spiraled way out of control on that one.
I mean, I was getting anxiety as she was telling me about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why, don't put yourself through that. And she's like, I know, I think you just felt like you needed to validate saying no.
Yeah.
Which it's okay.
I needed to trust that first thought of, oh no, I don't think I could do that. I'm going to say no. I just couldn't do it. I had to put myself through, it was probably 4 or 5 days of anxiety, torment that just kept growing.
But that's so easy for something like that to happen.
Yeah.
Overthinking, everybody overthinks to one extreme or another at some point on some categories. It just, just kind of depends. And I think when it comes to developing psychic abilities, there's a lot of overthinking involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go down that, am I really psychic? Did I really get that hit? Did I just think I got that hit? Maybe I'm not psychic at all. That does happen.
Yeah, it does.
It's funny, when we did the empath series, so many people were like, oh my gosh, that's me. I had no idea, didn't have a name to put to it. And I think part of that is because you overthink when something happens and your left brain kicks in and you come up with all these reasons why that wasn't a psychic hit.
Yeah, the first debunking begins.
Yes. Or you're not that kind of empath.
Mm-hmm.
It was really kind of fun. At work, we go on team outings periodically, and we had a team outing where we went to a nature center in Asheville, North Carolina, which these are all animals that have been rescued and cannot get rehabilitated and released back into the wild.
Mm-hmm.
We had several empaths in the group. And it's funny, there's a whole group of us, people we work with, colleagues, but only the psychic group, we all know about each other, but we don't share it with the rest of the group because people that are non-believers don't understand and don't get it. One of the young ladies said, oh, wolves are her thing. I mean, she's an animal empath. And we get there at 10 a.m. when it opens, and it was a very cold morning. So the animals weren't out. We walked all the way through, and we saw a turkey vulture, which, I could look out my porch and see turkey vultures all the time. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like, okay, this isn't very exciting, and nothing's out. So as we started, it took an hour to walk through everything because there wasn't much to stop and see, and the otter was out. And we all got excited. Oh, we can see something. The otter's out. Cool as that. And so we watched the otter, and then we thought, well, let's go back around again because now it's 11 o'clock and it's starting to get sunny, so it's getting warmer. Let's go through again. So we go through, and we've gone through the bear enclosure twice now, and none of the bears were out. And so we head up to the cat country. I look to my right, and there's a family of bears on the other side. They were wild. They weren't part of the nature center. But it was just like, turn and look to your left. And so I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew, I looked right at the bears where they were at. And oh, look, there's the bears. Oh, there's cubs. And so we got to see these wild bears. They were on the other side of the fence, away from us. We were fully protected. Those bears would be more afraid of us than we of them because they're wild bears.
Right.
We got to see the bears. We got to watch the cats play. Well, we get up to the wolf. It's a white wolf, and we don't see it anywhere. We don't see it anywhere. And she's like, where is he at? I know he's, and she's looking, and she's at the far right of his enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
We're all spread out looking, and all of a sudden, someone said, here it comes, it's running. It ran past us all and got in front of her and stopped.
Cool.
And just stood still. And she's, well, what's your name, sweetheart? Like she just starts having this dialogue. Well, the non-believers is looking at her like, why are you talking to this wolf? And we're all like, oh, she's having a moment with the wolf. So we, it was fun. So I got intuitive hit that the bears were there.
Mm-hmm.
And they were there a long time. Just kind of like, look here now kind of thing. Well, that was claircognizant.
Yes, definitely.
That wasn't clairaudient because nothing said, go look, there's a bear. It was, look here now. Okay. Oh, okay. There's bears, And she was using her empath abilities to communicate. We go to the next enclosure where the coyotes, and they weren't coming close. And I turned to someone who is not a believer, and I said, we just need so-and-so here. You saw how well it worked for the wolf. And when she showed up, the coyotes came running over. It was fun experiencing it with an animal empath.
Yeah, wow, that's cool.
That was one instance where the claircognizance worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Look over here, there's a bear. It didn't tell me there was a bear, it just says, look over here. I'm like, okay. Because I had been complaining, well, where's the bears? Because, the bears don't come out when it's really, really hot.
Yeah.
And this was a cool day. And the bears haven't been hibernating here for a while. And so I'm like, where's the bears? So spirit came through for me because I was kind of like, where's the bears? I want to see the bears,
Yeah.
It was just like, look over there. Oh, okay, thanks. Bears. Thanks.
That happens to me a lot here at the house. I will be in the basement doing whatever, crafting or whatever, editing podcast. And just for some reason, okay, I go upstairs. I get this feeling to go upstairs. So I go upstairs and look out the back. And that's when I see the deer close by or the raccoon that's looking in the back window, and I'll get those little nudges to say, go look. I don't hear a voice like you said. It just
just go. Yeah, just look.
It's time to go look. Mm-hmm.
See, and that's something that's peaceful for you. That's something that just brings calm to you.
Uh-huh,
and so obviously you're in the basement working on crafts and working on different things that you possibly needed that break.
Yes, just that moment of refreshment. Yep.
Yeah, just walk away for a moment, enjoy the animal. That's grounding, watching the deer in the yard.
Yep.
We enjoyed that this winter because we put out a mineral block when it got so cold because we don't feed bears. We don't do that here. And that's a big no-no. That's the way you get the bear killed. But in the wintertime when they're sleeping and it's so cold, we will put the mineral block out for the deer. And we ended up with 6 deer on a regular basis. I think we had a gang of raccoons. The thugs kept stealing the mineral block.
They were a gang.
Yeah, they were a gang. They were hoodlums.
That's right.
But it was nice on a cold, dreary day to look up and just see a couple of deer. They're peaceful to watch, just right off the porch.
Yeah, that they are.
So I could see we're getting that nudge for you. It's like, okay, you need to take a break. Let's go do that. Who knew what you were going to see? Why did you need to look out the back window?
Exactly.
But the bear situation at the Nature Center was a definite claircognizant situation. Now, do you have any other claircognizance examples that's happened to you, Kim?
Oh, I'm sure I do, but those popped up into my head. So that's why I had to mention those. I just, I don't want to go left brain and try to focus too much on it.
Well, it's easy to do that. I think that we receive more claircognizant hits because it's a gut instinct.
Mm-hmm.
That's your gut instinct. When you get don't go in there, you're not hearing it. You're just like, I don't think I want to go in there. That is a claircognizant hit. Your gut's saying no. That's really that clear.
Right. And that's also your danger one.
Yes.
Because I have avoided going like into the basement. We've talked about that before at the old house, knowing I should not open that door to the basement because I was going to see something I didn't want to see. Or there was something down there that you didn't need to be close to. You get those too. Or you get those situations where you're out somewhere And you may be out by yourself or out with a child or something, and you just get that gut feeling that, okay, you don't need to go out to your car at this moment in time. Just don't
Yeah.
go out there. You don't know why. You just
Yeah.
know. Keep the kid with you. Keep your hands on them, and
Yeah.
don't go anywhere.
Yeah. Your spidey senses are going off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so as you're developing all these different clairs, and I gave you 7 examples. You don't have to do all 7. Do what resonates with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like the music one, concentrating on the music and trying to guess what song it's going to be is fun. And you're raising your vibration.
Right. I would find the card one fun.
See, that's what resonates with you.
Exactly.
So you don't have to do all 7. You can, but do what resonates with you first. And you could do the clear knowing question. Which one should I do first?
Ah.
And just see which one you should do.
Yeah. Do you think that before you do the card exercise or the music exercise, do you think that there should be meditation before that, or just mindfulness to bring you into the present and then focus?
I think you could do either way. I think mindfulness is a type of meditation to me
Mm-hmm.
because you're focusing clearly on just one thing,
Yeah.
whatever you're bringing into mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the claircognizant one is hard for people to identify with because, like I said earlier, you don't get the picture or the movie playing for claircognizance. You're
Mm-hmm.
not tasting or smelling anything to go with it. Now, that doesn't say as you work your other clairs, they will all start to work together, where you would get that as confirmation.
Right.
You're not hearing it as with clairaudient. It's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like you know what you know what you know, and you don't know how to and you don't know how you know, but you know.
Yeah.
But the more you trust in your knowing, your clear knowing, the better things will be in that clair, where you can rely on it, good or bad.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think when our gut goes off with that danger Will Robinson mode, we
Mm-hmm.
listen to our claircognizance more,
Right.
but we don't count it as that.
Yep.
My gut's telling me not to do this. Well, your your gut's tied to your claircognizance, and that's the same thing.
Right.
But I think we trust the warnings more so than the good things, like stop here. Okay, I'll
Right.
stop here. This is a funny story. I don't know if it's a funny story, but a funny story. I used to live in Reno, Nevada. I went to the casinos because there's lots of casinos. So I went to a casino, a particular one, and it was kind of like I was at home. It was a Friday night, and I'm like, if you're single, you can go to a casino and nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody's looking at you. No one cares. They don't see who you walked in, who you're living with. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
One of my employees' husband worked as a bartender at this particular casino. So I felt like if somebody harassed me, I could go to that bar and he would help me. So I felt safe.
Mm-hmm.
I go in and I had the urge to go. And usually on a Friday night, it's busy. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll go, but it's going to be really busy. And I'm going to have to not play the games I want to play. And, I'm coming up with all these reasons why I shouldn't go, but I went anyway.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I should go. I'm walking and I'm like, I just looked at one machine and went, oh, I'm going to play you. Okay, I'll play you. And I put $20 in, cashed out with 100. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, should I keep playing? Okay, no, I didn't feel like I should. So I got up, walked around a little bit, and I walked this one machine. I just said, okay, I'll play you for a little while, and I put my $100 ticket in and I cashed out at 1,000. And it was just kind of like, and I've tested this theory on, well, yeah, okay, you're telling me it's done. I'm going to put a little bit more in. And that usually, okay, yeah, you're right. It was done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Should have listened. Now, I'm not saying that you should use your gifts for trying to beat the casino, because that's not what's going on here. I had some bills I had to pay. And so it was kind of like, oh, I see what's going on here now. Spirit's helping me.
Yeah.
The universe is giving me money
Right.
to help with my bills. So I had the money I brought with me to gamble, which I've only used $20 out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And my winnings, and that was in one pocket, my winnings was in another pocket. And so I'm walking through. I thought, okay, well, I'm ahead. I've got this money. This is what I needed. I'm cool. I'm walking through the casino, and they've got poker machines at the bars. And I stop, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. This is a dollar machine. I was playing nickels, okay, which it's not a nickel a spin. You could be spending anywhere from $1 to whatever with all these nickels.
Yeah.
A dollar machine, that adds up. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. And I'm like, okay, I'll put $20 in. And I put $20 in. And I like the video poker machines. I just don't normally play the dollar ones. And I max bet. I had to put a 20 in and I won 40. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll play it a little more then if you're telling me to keep playing. And I think my fourth hand, I hit a royal flush.
Oh, wow.
$5,000.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm like, never had that happen in my life, never had since. But at the
Mm,
time, I needed some money
mm-hmm.
for what the things that were going on in my life. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had a job, but it was just
Yeah,
sometimes life happens and you need an unexpected bill pops up or a car repair. These things happen.
right.
And I was very thankful, but that was all claircognizance.
Mm-hmm.
Something it told me to, I didn't hear the voice. It was, oh, I need to play this machine. And when I got to the dollar machine, I was like, that's a lot. If I max bet, that's a lot on a spin. And that $20 is not going to last more than one or two spins.
Yes, right.
But I'm like, but okay, you're telling me to do it. And then I freaked out because they paid me in cash, and all these people are all excited and all around me. I'm going, everybody knows I have 5,000 cash in my pocket. They don't know about the other 1,000. So it was, I had to call a friend. Can you come get me? I'll buy you dinner. I just don't want to walk out on my own because that's a lot of money. And that was, what, 10 years ago?
Probably, yeah.
More
More
than
than
10
that,
years ago.
probably.
More than
Yeah.
10 years ago, yeah. At the time, I was just going on my gut.
Yep.
Trust me, it does not work every time I go gambling.
No.
But it does not. But this was one of those situations where I was manifesting and didn't know how the manifestation was going to work. And that's not how I thought it would work.
Right. But you weren't complaining.
Nope. And I had fun. And I'm like, okay. I was very grateful for it, obviously. But that was all about clairdoing, knowing which machine to stop at, and then knowing whether or not how I'm supposed to bet.
Right. Should you continue or not? Yeah. All that
Right,
stuff.
right. And like I said, that is, I don't use my psychic abilities for gambling. That's not the conversation we're having here because it won't work that way. It was only working because I was trusting, first of all, my claircognizance abilities.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also had been manifesting that I needed to pay these bills that had come up unexpectedly.
Right.
And then I was able to. And then I had a little left over, which was very good. But if I hadn't been listening to the nudge to go, and sometimes the nudges get to be a little overpowering, like, okay, all right, already. I will go do this. Leave me alone. Have you ever had them like that, Kim, happen? That they pop in, you're like, it's just, whether it's which clear it is, it's just like, all right, I got it. I'll go. I'll do it. Has that happened to you?
Yeah, that's happened to me. But I didn't identify it as that's what it was. I just didn't say, oh, okay, fine. My psychic clairs are happening here or anything like that. It's just like, fine, I'll do it out loud,
Yeah.
even though
Yeah.
I knew it was coming from somewhere, but didn't want to admit it's coming from where I think it's coming from. This was before I put that one foot out of the closet. So, you know.
I visualize that your spirit team's going, yay! It's like, it's okay. She's doing it. Yay!
Yeah.
Finally! So.
I'm sure there was a
Well,
little party happening.
yes. Well, that's everything I have for claircognizance. So, Kim, you want to lead into your next Claire and final Claire?
Okay, I can do that. The one that I'm going to be covering, as I mentioned earlier, is Clairsentience. And this one, I did all three of the ones that I definitely believe I have the most of. But the Clairsentience is clear feeling. You can sense energy, you can sense feelings, you just feel it all. You feel it all inside whenever this Claire is showing its shiny head,
Yeah, and I think that this Claire is really strong in empaths that are very strong empaths. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes,
Or in tune to the fact that they're empaths.
right. And also the emotional empaths. Because with this Claire, you feel people's emotions and people's energies all around you. You feel everything. And you get messages with that. That's how you receive your messages. No matter where you are Even if you're just sitting in a room all by yourself, you're going to be feeling energy and things around you as well. And your body is in tune to that. If you're talking to somebody and they're experiencing like a physical pain, or they're feeling a pain but you don't know it and they're not talking to you about it, you could feel that pain, or you could feel their sadness if they're having sad moments or anything like that. This Claire is also confused with the one Carrie just discussed, claircognizance, because you feel a lot of that gut uneasiness that you get.
Yeah. Well, you know how you were talking about with the Clairgustans and Clairaliens, how they work together.
Yes.
And so I think that these two, they're working together. And I think that shows that once you've developed all your psychic clairs, how they will work together and almost be as one ability.
Right. When you are clairsentience, you can easily walk into a room and immediately feel whether or not people are relaxed and having a good time, or if there's tension in the air, or what happened here before I came in kind of thing, which I've had that before, where I walk into a place, it's like, oh my gosh, find me a corner. This is not good energy in here, you know? I'm sure you've experienced that as well.
Yeah, I did the other day when we went to the retro arcade on our
Yeah.
team outing. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, that's was the next thing I was going to be talking about, was that you can also feel heaviness in the air, or it's very light when you walk into a place, just like what you experienced in that.
The retro arcade.
Yeah, the retro arcade.
Yeah, that wasn't a lightness. that
No
was
lightness there.
there was a lot of entities in there, and it was overwhelming.
Yep.
Yeah.
This one is also a good one to work on, especially if you are meeting people on a regular basis, because that first strong initial impression that you get off of people, that's your clairsentience that is just kicking in and making you aware of what this, if you should be cautious of this person, or if they're very happy and personable and someone that might be someone you'd want to spend time with or get to know. I've said in another episode, I had this very strong impression whenever I actually shook a person's hand that he's no good. He's somebody that's shady, shifty, you shouldn't do business with them, really strong feelings. But I initially had the feeling before I even shook his hand. The handshake just confirmed it, that he wasn't trustworthy, and that came to pass. That's what this Claire does. It's also whenever you get the goosebumps, the goose pimples, the chills. Whenever you feel that, that's your clairsentience that's at work. So those are examples. There's many more, but those are good ones that I think most people experience and may write off as, oh, it's just the chills, or when they say, oh, somebody walked over my grave. Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's...
I need to Google that, because I've never understood that phrase.
Yeah, me neither. So
never wanted to look it up, evidently, but it's like, I just never get that one.
Right. So with clairsentience, the way to develop this ability, one way to do it is to create a sacred space. We've talked about that before, where you find a spot that's your own, that it's just for you, your little corner of a room, whatever space you have, where you can go relax, meditate, just have your crystals there if you want, whatever practices that you do, that is your special place. And you can do essential oils in there. You can smudge it with sage to clean out the bad energy. And it's just your safe, clean space. Then you can meditate to help enhance your clairsentience. And one of the exercises I know we've talked about before is with photos. You can ask a friend to show you a picture of someone that they know well, that you don't know. And you just look at that picture and focus on that person's eyes, and then imagine how they felt in the picture when it was taken. Were they happy? Were they sad? Did they look anxious? Would you trust this person? You just look at it and try to get the first impressions when you're seeing this picture of what's going on there, how you're feeling, because that's what they were feeling. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Then when you're done with those impressions and you're giving those impressions to your friend as you're going, the different impressions that you're getting, and then you ask your friend, well, Give me some feedback. How did I do? Is that what was happening in this picture? It could even be like someone went to the Super Bowl, never been to the Super Bowl before, and their picture was taken after that. Maybe you got that impression that that was a big, important game that they went to, and then the person would confirm or say, well, no, that's not really what that was. So that's how you practice. You just keep going. You learn to trust that first image or that first thought or that first feeling that you're getting from the picture. So the next part is practice psychometry. Everything holds energy, and everything holds energy of the person that handled it or wore it before. So any of the clothes that you've worn, your lockets that you've worn, any bracelets, rings, anything like that, that's all holding energy besides its own energy. With psychometry, you can focus on an object and get the feelings and information when you're touching that object or holding it. You can get the information from the person that previously touched that object, what they were doing, what were they feeling when they were wearing it the last time. And how you do that is you take the object, you hold it into your hand. You can rub your hands together, take some deep breaths, hold the object, turn it around in your hand, close your eyes, and just relax and notice the feelings, emotions, activity that these people were, what they might have been thinking at the time. You just focus on it and then make note of everything that's popping into your mind, because that's what you're picking up off of that object. Psychometry is used whenever there's a missing person or there was a case where someone had passed by something bad happened to them and the police didn't know where to go, and they would take an object to a psychic that has psychometry abilities. You can get information off of objects from that you can possibly help investigations without going into bad details or anything, okay?
Okay.
You get what I'm saying.
Right.
Another way is to balance your chakras. With chakras, you want them to be clear and balanced, and that allows energy to flow smoothly through your body, and it helps you connect with your gifts and strengthen your psychic abilities and raise your vibrations. Of course, we all know the 7 main chakras: the crown chakra, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral chakra, and the root chakra. Those are the ones that you want to focus on. But for clairsentience, that's the heart chakra. People that use their clairsentience, you do tend to feel a lot of things in your heart. It pulls at your heartstrings. That's how I take that's where that comes from. It's with the clairsentience. So the way to balance the chakras, you can do yoga. Another way is let it go. That's to start being intentional about letting things go, which is something that I personally have to work on more because I hold on to way too many things, and I know that boogers up all of my chakras. So, but you got to learn to let it go.
I think it's very common. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't realize how much you're holding on to.
Exactly. Yeah. You really don't until you really consciously start the process of just saying, okay, I'm done with that. That was in the past. I'm just no more. Just not going to think about it anymore. It's gone. Let it go. No concern now. Done and over with. Then you start feel how light you start to feel once you start taking the trash out. You know?
Sometimes you just let the trash take itself out.
Yeah, sometimes you have to do that too.
Yes, yes.
Do things you enjoy. That's a way to exercise and open up those chakras, to balance the chakras. Just do something you like doing, just for the fun of it. No obligations, just go do something you enjoy. Use rose or lavender essential oils. That really helps with the heart chakra. You can rub those onto you. Of course, you have to do the carrier oil with it, of course. But you rub that on you and meditate for about 10 minutes, and you're smelling those scents, and that really helps you to work on that throat chakra and heart chakra and work on that clairsentience as well. That also works for the solar plexus chakra as well. Place a fluorite crystal on your heart or solar plexus chakra. Now, fluorite is gorgeous, so I've been told. You place it on either the heart or the solar plexus chakra during meditation, and that helps to open up those chakras and get things flowing. Another way to do is you meditate We've been talking about that as well throughout everything. It doesn't have to be a complicated meditation. What you're trying to do is you're trying to raise your vibrations. That helps open up your chakras as well. You can picture a beautiful green light while you're meditating and pull this light to your heart as you imagine embracing your gifts. You could also picture yourself holding a pretty flower, feel its energy. Does the energy feel soft or light, joyful? Enjoy the feelings that you get whenever you're meditating and trying to develop the clairsentient. That's what you're doing. You just enjoy those feelings that you're getting. And then you can practice reading energy. Start consciously working on picking up the energy of your surroundings. That's to practice using the gift in a deliberate way, because a lot of times we feel it all the time, but we want to practice deliberately doing it so we know and identify what these feelings are and where they're coming from. An example of that is the next time you go to a party or a family gathering, try sensing the energy in the room, like we talked about earlier, and what does it feel like? Is everybody happy or not? As more guests arrive, just check the feel of the energy again. Has it shifted? Has it changed? Has it stayed the same? So as more people come or other people leave, just check in on it and see so you can identify those feelings purposefully and know that you are working your clairsentience.
What's fun about that exercise, if you don't mind me jumping in, I do it at work. So it's kind of like there's someone that's not in my department, but I get that feeling about them. Can't put my finger on it. I get a feeling. And so I tried something like that, like whenever they would be in the room, what was the energy like versus when they weren't in the room. And it really kind of helps you identify with this particular Claire almost who the narcissist is in the room.
Yeah.
Because of the feeling you're getting with the energy, because certain people's energy changes around a narcissist.
That's so true.
So when that person's not in the room, the energy is going to be one way. It's like a bully. People don't want to be bullied. So their energy changes when they're around that particular bully because they're wanting to be kept under the radar. They don't want to be the target. They don't want to be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's a way of learning the energy of an environment you're around all the time and to see whose energy actually helps the environment and whose energy hurts that environment. And that kind of gives you the sign of who you need to stay away from and who you'd be okay to talk to.
Exactly. So that one's a really good exercise to try to do, especially if you are in everyday contact with people outside of your comfort zone. I can't practice that one every day because I'm around the same people every day, you know.
Yeah.
But that is a good one. I have done that going out to like the Christmas parties and stuff. You just pay attention to the energies around you. It's kind of fun. So another thing is to be mindful of your words. And because clairsentience can be very subtle, it's easy to dismiss your intuitive nudges at first. So that's why being mindful of your words is so powerful. Have trust in your psychic ability by saying, I feel, not I think, when you get an intuitive sense about something. So you want to say, I feel this happened. And an example of that is instead of saying, I think my new coworker is nice, you may instead say, I have a great feeling about my new coworker. And that's focusing your mind on what are you feeling, not what are you thinking about this person. What do you honestly feel? Another example is, I feel like I'm going to get the job, not I think I will get the job. I feel that way you are using your clairsentience and what you're actually feeling.
Do you think that's to keep you from being left-brained?
Well, it's to filter out the negative language that's out there, and it's to help you build the confidence. And yeah, to also to shut that heart down and go strictly on your feelings, because people that are very analytical like myself, we try not to focus on the feeling. You're always focusing on A, B, C.
But you're also an emotional empath.
Well, I know.
There's
a war going on in there.
Yeah, yes. It's a constant battle.
There is a battle going on in there. But once you shift your language to talk about the feeling instead of I think it gives you just a big confidence boost in the ability that you are validating that you're actually feeling that. And that draws you more into depending on it or being able to say, okay, whenever I'm getting this feeling, this is really something coming in. I need to pay attention to what's going on here. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? What's going on around me to cause that? Maybe not cause that. That's probably a negative there anyway. But why am I receiving this message? There's a reason for it. So, oh goodness. I'm a mess. What I found in this other way to exercise your clairsentience is to make a crystal grid. So you can use crystals to put them in a certain pattern around you to help raise your vibrations and connect with your clairsentience and make everything easier for you to actually feel the feels. I think that's all I'm going to cover on clairsentience. I hope it all made sense, and it's one of those where, well, that happens to me all the time kind of thing, and I find it difficult to explain it to other people that may not have that or recognize that as being a clair for them. Hopefully I wasn't too vague.
If you're a real strong empath and you don't realize you're a strong empath, then you don't realize that you're clairsentient as well.
Yeah.
So I think of all the clairs to exercise, I think that one is probably the one that's the most difficult to do. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying that because people don't want to sometimes feel the feels.
That is a very good point, because they're not comfortable feeling feels. For example, I do not watch crying movies. Anything that can evoke a lot of emotion, I don't do it. I don't like feeling that if I'm just trying to sit there and watch TV and my mind go elsewhere. I can't. I feel the feels. I feel what they're feeling. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's the empath in there too, but still.
Or if the movie's really hokey.
Yeah, well, if it's hokey, that I can watch the hokey ones,
But don't you think that your clairsentience is kind of gets bored with the hokey?
It does get bored with the hokey, yes, but it also, you don't feel the feels with it because it is hokey.
Right.
Kind of like if you want to shut them down for now, just to have a break, I watch something hokey.
Well, I've tried to figure out which clair I use because it used to drive Mom absolutely crazy when I'd pick out what was wrong with a movie. Like her Amish movie, where she'd watched hundreds of times and seen where the woman drops her basket of clothes that she was folding up. And I'm like, Mom, that was bubble wrap in the bottom of that basket. And Mom would have to go back, and it was really quick glimpse, but yes, it was there. It wasn't, I guess, blatantly obvious. It wasn't obvious to her at all, but to me, it was like, they didn't have bubble wrap out on the Amish farm, and I accidentally ruined that movie for Mom. What makes you see these, and why is Spirit showing that to you? Because it's like, I knew there was bubble wrap, and it was kind of hokey movie, so I don't, so my clairsentience was probably bored, but
yeah,
I've always questioned that.
That could be the clear seeing, maybe, but I don't know.
Because I have a knack for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not bragging about that. It's not a good knack, but I have a knack for seeing these things in shows that like, what? No, that doesn't go. It can be annoying to people.
I think that could also be claircognizance as well, because that happens to me as well too, where you're just watching something, you go, wait, what? And you rewind it.
And you can't get past it.
You can't get past
it's wrong.
Yeah, there's
wrong.
something wrong in that scene. There's something wrong. Yeah, I get that too.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be feeling that, so it couldn't be clairsentience. It's just, but it is like, you just know there's something wrong there. You saw it. There's something wrong.
Yeah, and then it's so shocking that you say something, and now I've ruined a movie for someone else.
Yeah.
This is why Carrie doesn't get invited to go watch movies, evidently.
That's right.
Okay. She might ruin it for you.
Yep. Just real quick, I know we're getting low on time here. Would you consider it your clairs letting you know something's going on when you're being delayed from leaving the house, or you're trying to cook something and things just go wrong and you just need to stop. Do you think that's Claire's at work?
I think it's a mixture of things at work. I think it's your spirit team working with you with your clairs or your empath abilities because there's a reason.
Right.
Whether it's a good reason or keeping you from a bad situation.
Or teaching you a life lesson.
Yeah, those are always fun.
Yeah.
Or you're instrumental in you get delayed and then it ends up that you're giving someone a life lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I thought.
I mean, I'm a firm believer if you're running late, don't get upset, don't sweat it, because there's a reason.
Right.
Kim and I were getting ready for the podcast, and one of my earbuds fell out because, we have to mute our earbuds because we're communicating through different programs and what we're recording on. And I could still do it with just one earbud, but it was like, I need these for work because I listen to music at work. And it took me, 5 minutes to find it?
Yeah, about 5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, and then I tried to update the program we use for recording, and things were going wrong. I'm like, okay, it's almost the time we said, and she's going to call, and I'm not going to be ready because, like, so for whatever reasons, we were delayed today. I don't know why. We weren't going anywhere other than recording. I don't think you're prone to bad things. I think these are things that are delays that are for a reason.
Right. It's always for a reason. It's always for a reason.
And we may never know what that reason is.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was being delayed to get to work, and then I get stopped at a stoplight with a vehicle in front of me. And this was one of those where you could turn right on red, but this person was going straight. So so we're stopped, and I got rear-ended.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's a red light. I had a vehicle in front of me. What were you doing? And we pull off, and the young man thought he knew more than the older lady, but he's like, oh, that's not much damage to the back of your vehicle. And then I had just paid it off.
Of course.
I just paid it off. The trunk was pushed in, and he's like, well, I'll just go to the ATM and get you $250. And I used to work for an automotive repair place years ago, and I looked at him and I'm like, we're going to call the police and have them come out and do a report. No. I'm like, dude, $250 is not going to cover anything on the damage of the vehicle. I have a backup camera back there. The trunk is caved in. It probably won't open. We don't know the extent of the damage, but trust me, no auto repair from a car accident is ever $250.
Right.
So I'm trying to be rational. We get the police come in, and when he gets all mouthy with the police officer and things, I just tell you, I don't know if I was channeling a family member of his or what, but I just went off on the boy. And it's funny, the police officer moved closer to me, so I think he was married and had recognized that look. Like I do not want to be in the line of fire. In case I need to restrain this woman, I'm going to stand over here by her. 'Cause it was funny. I called Kim later. I'm like, I just basically, you're getting a life lesson today. And those are the words that came out of my mouth. And I said, you insulted me and my intelligence by trying to tell me $250 would fix this vehicle. The police officer was like, what? You not? No. It was funny. I mean, the poor boy, he was not, obviously, he was a young man, but it was just the things that were coming out of my mouth were not typical of what I say.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I think that my delay and the unfortunate chance that my car was injured, but I was not, he was not, but it gave him a life lesson that he evidently needed. Now, whether it took or not, who knows?
Yeah, free will.
Yes, but some of the things that were coming out of my mouth were, and it was nothing insulting, but it was bam, 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 bam. I hit him left and right, left and right, left and right with these words, and you could tell he was uncomfortable with what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that situation, my delay wasn't for my benefit, obviously, but
Right.
I think it was for his benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Because he did get caught. He got caught in a couple lies during the conversation, and it was where he was starting to squirm, and he needed that opportunity to squirm for whatever reason.
Yep.
Never saw him again. We'll never know. But I'm a firm believer that if you can't find your car keys, I'm not saying call out of work. I'm just saying, well, take a breath, continue to look for them, and don't get upset.
Yep. Exactly.
The other morning, I get up and getting ready for work, and I look outside and went, oh, Aren't you a big bear? I'm going in an hour later. Make sure he's got plenty of time to leave the yard. Like,
Exactly.
it's like, oh, it's dark when I leave for work. I'm not going to see you if you're still out there.
Yep.
I firmly believe that we all discard signs. That I think that the more you work your abilities, the more that these synchronicities are going to be very obvious.
I agree.
If you hit every single red light, that doesn't mean hit the gas and speed. It means, okay, what are the chances of me hitting every single red light here? I get there when I get there.
For me, it's every single time I hit stoplights.
Is it a situation where you're maybe thinking on a particular topic and this is giving you more time to think on that topic?
Yeah, you just don't know, huh?
It could be almost anything.
Right.
I'm a firm believer in synchronicities. I mean, that was obvious when we did the episode on numerology.
Right.
So I think if you cannot find your keys, you can use one of your psychic clairs and ask where and visualize where the key's at.
I do that a lot.
And then retrieve the lost key and then just take your time going to where you're planning on going, because that delay was for a reason.
Yeah.
Whether it was a potential accident situation where you might have hit an animal, maybe that delay is going to put you in line to meet someone that you're supposed to meet, whether it's
Right.
work related or whatever. I'm sure this gentleman did not appreciate his life lesson.
Bet he got one.
It's been a couple years, but I'm sure Kim, you remember me. I'm like, and then I told him this, and then I said this, and then I said this.
Yep,
I'm like, I don't know where this came from, but
Yep, I remember.
And my hand went up, and with my finger straight up, you're getting a life lesson today. I was like, oh, okay. But that kind of situation, it's kind of like, okay, well, it is what it is.
Yep.
Definitely, if you can't find your car keys, don't get into we had that the other day, me and my boyfriend, we couldn't find the car keys. I mean, we had the spare key, but we spent all this time trying to find the other key because the other key had the house key in it, with it.
Yep.
So it was kind of like, well, where's this key at? Finally, we just used the spare key, and I found the other key in my coat pocket.
Oh, imagine that.
Days later, like, oh, how did you get in there? Okay. Then I had to return it. Here you go.
Yep.
I just think that those things happen for reasons, and you should respect those reasons.
I agree. All right, so that's all I got.
Okay. Well, thank you, listeners. I hope you enjoyed the other Claire series that we've done on how to develop your clairs. This actually wraps up the series, doesn't it, Kim?
Yes, it does.
So I hope you enjoyed it. We did get a very wonderful comment the other day from a listener who was listening to the episode on auras, didn't we, Kim?
Yes, they were listening on YouTube. They said thank you to us and that it sounded wonderful. So, listener, you know who you are. Thank you so much for the compliment and listening to our podcast.
We always love getting feedback, and it was a lot of fun to get that. So thank you. So listeners, we're going to round it up now, and you know how to contact us on Facebook. It's PsychicBent Podcast.
And you can reach us by email at psychicbent1@gmail.com.
Thank you, guys. Looking forward to meeting again next week. Bye.
Bye. May your light shine bright.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Psychic Bent. If you enjoyed Psychic Bent, please like, follow, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. We can be reached on Facebook at PsychicBent Podcast. Our email address is psychicbent1@gmail.com. May your light shine bright.